Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Happiness Really an Inside Job? And this came up for me a few weeks ago when I got an email from a listener of my podcast, and she asked me actually a personal question, which I really appreciated. She said, I understand that you have cultivated a lot of joy and happiness in your current life, but I wanted to know if you liked your life better before your husband left. And when I read that, I really started to think about my life today and my life many years ago. And if I was pushed, I think I would have to say that I liked my life better then. I really enjoyed when it was me and my ex-husband and my kids, and there was a lot of activity, and I felt a lot of love in my life at that time. But if someone was to ask me, are you happier now than you were then? I'd have to say yes. So how is that possible? How is it possible that I liked my life better then, but I'm happier now? And that leads me to the place that happiness is really an inside job. And I think a lot of us believe that as we look towards the future, we look to grow, we look for more. And that usually gets connected with more on the outside, more achievements, more goals. But I think the way it really works is that there is more within us than we are currently in any moment. And the experiences that we have in life give us the opportunity to learn and create more wisdom and create more perspectives and stretch ourselves. And then we become that more, that deeper person, that happier person, that more peaceful person if we choose that path. And then the moreness within allows us to have a bigger life on the outside. For me, that's exactly what's happened, is that when my husband left me, I fell apart, I cracked open. And then I had all these experiences that allowed me to become more within myself. And that landscape, after all the pain, after all the processing, after all the experiences, allowed me to generate a more sturdy perspective of life, allowed me to be more grateful, allowed me to understand uncertainty on a higher level and the joy and the hope that we could have every day if we choose. And I bring this up today for us to realize that if we're depending on life to make us happy, it's not that we're not going to have those moments. It's just we're not going to be able to sustain those moments. Then when the outside world is giving something we like, we'll be happy. And then when things go a different way and our expectations are not being met, or we don't have the job we like, we don't have the relationship we like, we are going to sit around looking for something else externally to satisfy us. And it's going to be a roller coaster. But even more than that, how much will we really be able to handle? And when life doesn't go our way, if we don't have that moreness within, if we don't have that growth within, we can fall apart and not end up getting back on the path and not growing and not expanding ourselves from within so we can capture those bigger experiences, so we can capture our goals and have the things that we dreamed of. So it's so interesting because, again, a lot of us think that if we pursue the outside world, then our life will get big and then we will get bigger. But it's really the exact opposite. It's the inner world that processes the pain, the suffering, the joy, the peace, and through the process gains the wisdom, expands from within, and then goes back out into the world, hardier, more resilient, more capable of loving, more capable of feeling deep joy, and then moving forward, and then making better decisions, then being more creative, then expanding, and then possibly having the life that we like or we enjoy or fulfills our dreams or whatever it may be. So how do we do this? And the first thing is to understand where we are in this moment, to really look at our belief systems and if we really believe that one day is going to save us. Are we living off the energy that we believe if we meet a partner, then we'll be happy? If we get the job, then we'll be happy. If we get the money, then we'll be happy. Are we basing our happiness on whether something happens in the outside world? The promise of life being better. And if we are, can we take a step back in this moment and admit to ourselves that there's an inner landscape that's really going to dictate our strength, our resilience, our joy, our love, and even the amount of our suffering. And just pull back a little bit and commit to a different daily perspective. Look at our fears, look at our desires, look at our presence, and make a choice that every day we're going to let go as much as we can, that we're going to deal with our fears of the unknown, that we're going to recognize that within the unknown, there's hope and possibility because we don't know what's going to happen next. You could study things like the maybe practice, which I talk about on so many podcasts. You could think about this idea of gratitude and the idea that I've spoken about, that we could be grateful for everything because everything has brought us to this moment, that we can engage in a level of mindfulness and presence, and that life is created in the moment. We create the future in the moment, and everything changes and everything passes. We could always see the thoughts that take center stage every day. And we could look, is it really the thought or the future of this thought? Am I stuck in the past? Am I okay in this moment? And again, the idea, there are many ways to be okay. These are all the practices I talk about all the time. And the reason I talk about them is for us to stretch from within. The point is, it's not that good things aren't going to happen, but don't wait for them to be happy. Don't wait for those things to happen for you to finally feel free and satisfied and joyful. There are things in your life right now that are gorgeous, that are beautiful, even if it's just the next breath that you take. And I'm not saying that my outer world doesn't affect me, because it does. But I do believe that the more we become on the inside, the more we strengthen ourselves and our beliefs and our perspective, we hold the outside world better. That if there's a shot to be happy, we're going to find that happiness. If there's a shot for joy in that day, we're going to find it. If we could be peace or feel freedom, we're going to find it. Perhaps we're a little less like a feather in the wind. We're a little more solid, more like a tree. So we feel the breezes, we feel things come and go, but we're more grounded within it. And maybe that's the goal at the end of the day, to be more grounded within life. And we need to become more of ourselves and more sturdy to do that. Then good times, bad times, things we like, things we don't like, exciting times, boring times, we're more steady within that. And then because we're able to be steady and we're able to stretch from within, we are more likely to live that life we dreamed of. That's just how it works. We start off a certain way, we have an outer experience, then we process it and we perceive it, and then we grow. And as we grow, we could handle more in the outside world. So maybe we pursue a bigger goal. Maybe we're able to have a better relationship. Maybe that leads to more satisfaction. It just goes back and forth, inside, outside, inside, outside. But I promise you, it is the expansion and the hardiness from within that holds it all. If not, we're like a house of cards that any minute, the world that we built on the outside world, if we need it to be a certain way, we're always going to be worried. We're always going to be in fear that we're going to lose what we need to be okay. And the more we could rely on the inside world, the more sturdy that okayness is. And it's not that we can't build lives and buy things. Of course we can. But how much are we leaning on them to feel that basic okayness? We have to know that we could trust that we will be okay no matter what. And that's understanding our presence, our gratitude, and our relationship with uncertainty. So as I look at my life today, I feel larger within. I feel my capacity has grown. I'm able to process things better. I'm able to hold things better. I even think I'm able to love better. And who knows, maybe I'll come onto this podcast one day and say, hooray, I like life just as much as I used to. But again, I think happiness and joy are different. There are deep presence in life, a deep appreciation of what's happening, creativity, expansiveness, connection. It's just a different way of living. It's so much richer. It's so much wiser when we decide to not let the outer world determine the quality of our lives. And I do believe when we make that decision, our outer world does reflect it. And this hasn't affected my hope. I'm more hopeful than ever, because the more hopeful a heart is, the more delight it takes in. Just because I'm not attached to it being a certain way doesn't mean I don't see more possibilities. I think it was Rumi who said the crack is where the light comes in. I have more light coming in, and so will you. Our freedom is about not being attached, and it doesn't mean that we can't dream big. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or A Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you could subscribe and leave a comment.